So I put together this like ultimate beginner's practice routine that is perfect for anybody that's maybe just like a couple months into playing guitar that wants to progress a little bit quicker. So we're going to touch on some basic music theory, learn all the notes of each open string, and we're going to learn all the notes on the low E string as well. You're going to learn how to tune the guitar without a tuner, and you're going to learn how to tune into drop D as well. We're going to touch on some power chords, some basic rhythm, learn what a metronome is and how to use it, and then I'll break down the practice routine, which is roughly a 30-minute routine. The only concept that we're going to discuss today regarding music theory is the musical alphabet, which is really easy. There's only 7 letters and 12 numbers, and it just goes off of the normal alphabet that everybody knows, but we're only going to use A through G. Something that is very important to take a look at here is that there are sharps. And there are also something that we call flats in the scale. So we have the A sharp here, but then there's also a B flat. These two here, the A sharp and the B flat, are the exact same note. So the only difference is that when you ascend, when you count up, A, B, C, D, E, we're going to say it's a sharp. So if we're counting down, we're going G, F, E, D, we're gonna use the flat. So there's really only 12 notes in the musical alphabet, even though it seems like there's more because there's flats. The A sharp and the B flat are the exact same thing. And if you look between the B and the C and the E and the F, there is no sharp and there is no flat. So remember that. Remember that there is no sharp or no flat between B and C and E and F. And that is really the musical alphabet. A through G with sharps and flats. Sharps and flats are the same. There's no sharp and flat between B and C or E and F. So let's look at the notes that each string represents. So when we're in standard tuning, which is generally what most people are going to refer to when they talk about tuning, is going to be standard, unless they specify like a different type of tuning like drop C or drop A sharp or D standard. The big string on top is considered the bottom. The small one on the bottom here is considered the top for some reason. I don't know if it's because when you set the guitar down like this and you look at it, you're looking at it upward. So this one is technically on top and this one is on bottom. So that might be the reason why, but I'm not really 100% sure. The biggest string, or the bottom string, is going to be an E note. The second string down is going to be an A. The third string down is a D. The fourth string down is a G. The fifth string down is a B. And then the last string, the smallest string, is also an E, just like the very bottom big string. Those are both the same. So also we're going to talk about what notes are on this big E string here. We're going to speak about that. So you understand the musical alphabet. Now it's A through G with sharps and flats between every note except for B and C and E and F. So with that being said, since the low E is obviously an E note, then it's just ascending. So the next one is going to be an F, G, A, B, C, and to get to that C, we're only going to go a half a step. So one fret over to get to that C because there's no sharp or flat between. And then D, and then when we get to the 12th fret, we're all the way back to E again, and then it starts all over again. All right, so let's tune this guitar by ear. So the first step is to tune the low E, the big E top, the top one here, with your tuner, so we can get one pitch that we can go off of. Then the next step is, let's hold our finger on the 5th fret of this big E string here, the 5th fret. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you're gonna match that pitch with the next string down. So that's wrong. So what we need to do now, we need to come up here, and we're not gonna touch this. We're gonna make sure we're hitting the right tuning peg, and that's gonna be the second one down. It's gonna be for this A string, that second string down, and we're just gonna tighten that a little bit. Well, I'm gonna tighten it because I know that mine is too low. I know that my A string is too low, so I'm gonna tighten it. If you're not sure if it's too low or too high, always go a little bit lower, because you're not going to break the string if you go lower, but if you go too tight, you could potentially break the string. Still not right. Closer. That's pretty close right there. You see how that pitch sounds the same? You can even go a little further just to double check. Nope, actually that's even more. That's right. And when you're tuning these, when you're turning these tuning pegs, don't turn them a bunch. Don't turn them real. You just need to do maybe like a little, like an 8, just a little bit, and then check it, and then maybe a little bit more, and then check it, and we're sounding pretty good right there. We're off. Now that's where we want to be. See how that pitch sounds exactly the same? So now we're going to do the exact same thing for the next string. So 5th fret on that second string down, the A string, we're going to put our finger on the 5th fret, and we're going to match the pitch of that A string from the 5th fret to the open D. That's way off, so I'm gonna go higher. And I know that I need to tune it a lot, but I'm just gonna go a little bit to kind of display this, how it should be done. See how you can hear how it's getting closer? Getting closer. That's pretty good right there. So let's do the same thing with this 3rd D string and the 4th, the G string, the 4th down. That's off. Oop. Let's make sure we get the right. Make sure that we get the right tuning peg. That sounds right to me. So here's where it gets a little confusing. All these strings, these are all a 5th away from each other. 5 half steps, or these are all 5 half steps away from each other. So the 5th fret on the string above is the same pitch as the open string below. But when you get to this G to the B, we're going to slide back to the 4th fret. It's not the 5th fret, it's going to be the 4th fret. So make sure that we don't get confused on that, because otherwise it's going to screw up your tuning. So we're going to put our finger on the 4th fret of the G string, which is the 5th, which is the 4th string down, and we're going to try to match that pitch with that that second B string. getting closer. I think we're right there. So now we're going to go back to the 5th fret. That is the G string is the only one that you're going to go off of that 4th fret. All the other ones are the 5th fret. So we're going back to the 5th fret on the 2nd B string, second to last string here. And we're going to match that pitch. I think we're right. So this low E and the bottom one, that should be the same pitch. Sounds right to me. So we're just going to double check our work here and just go back all the way through the rest, all the way through all the strings one more time. Sounds pretty good to me. So now I'm going to show you guys how to tune from E standard to drop D. It's very simple. Remember how we were going off of that 5th fret? So let's jump back to the 7th fret on that low E string. You're gonna put your finger on that 7th fret of the low E string. Make sure that you're not bending the string at all. I probably should have specified that before, but make sure we're not bending the string. Make sure you're just pushing down on that fret just the way it is. And we're gonna match that 7th fret on the low E with that A. So this time, this is very important to remember. We're not going to tune the 2nd A string. We're going to tune that low E. And you're going to want to tune down, not up. You want to go lower. So loosen that string. Sounds pretty good to me. Now we're in drop D. That's all it is. It's only that one low E string that goes from E to D, and now we're in drop D. The other way to do it that's pretty easy is the 3rd string down is a D note too. So those 2 notes should match. So that might be a little easier for you. That's the way that I usually do it, but starting off, I think tuning off of the 7th fret was a bit easier for me. Now let's look at the power chord. The power chord is very, very basic, very simple. It's only 2 notes. I'm not going to get into the theory about what a power chord is right now because I don't want to give you guys too much information, like as far as music theory goes. So I'm just going to show you guys the power chord. So the way the power chord works is it's only 2 notes. So I like to use my 1st finger and then my 4th, the pinky. We're in drop D, so we're gonna go back into standard. So I like to use my index finger and my pinky finger, the 1 and the 4 finger, just because it's less of a stretch. But you can use your index and your ring finger if that, if that's easier for you. It doesn't really matter, as long as you're hitting the 2 notes. So wherever your index finger is, go 2 frets over and put your ring finger or your pinky finger. So right now, we're playing off of the 5th fret. My pinky's going to go on the string right below the A string, and it's going to go on the 7th fret. So we're going to be on the 5 with the index finger and the 7 with the pinky on the E string and the A string. And that's a power chord. Very simple. So you can play those, you can really play them on any string. I didn't want to get too in depth with them because, again, with this G string being off, only a fourth away, it gets a little confusing once you get down here. You have to, but anyways, so we're just gonna go off of the E and the A. So that's the power chord. So, since we already discussed what notes are on this E string, you know that it's an E, F, A, B, C, with the note sharp and flat, D, E. If you're playing, whatever note you're playing with that index finger, that is what chord you're playing. So right now, we're playing a G, playing an A, B, C, D, F. That's how you know what power chord you're actually playing. Now we're going to talk about what a metronome is. A metronome is basically a way to keep timing when you're playing guitar so that you're playing the notes in a specific rhythm. So let's look at that. I'm going to just give you kind of a very basic rundown because I don't want to give you guys too much information right now because then it'll get confusing and that's never a good thing. This is the metronome that I use. So for now, all I want you guys to do, I don't want you to touch any of this stuff. Just leave it, have it say 4/4. There's a TS, which means time signature. If this is the metronome you're using, make sure that if you click on that, it says 4/4. If it doesn't say 4/4, if it says 3/4 or something, you know, add whatever you need or subtract or whatnot to make it to where it says 4/4. And then this is kind of what you guys are going to need to adjust to the level that you're at. So with this one, you just scroll up and down, you know, and get it as high or as low as you need it. So let's push play on this and kind of see what it does. Well, you can't hear it, but it does make a clicking sound, which you will hear when we play along to it with the pentatonic scale. So the idea for now is that whenever and this is just how we're going to approach it right now. This isn't how I necessarily do it, or people always. Anyways, this is how we're going to approach it right now. So every time you hear a click on this, every time you hear a click, you're going to play a note. So you want to play the note to these clicks, the exact same time as these clicks. We're going to look at two of the positions of the pentatonic scale. So the first one, we're going to start on the 5th fret of that low E string. And it's going to go 1, 8 on the low E, 1, 8. And you want to use your index finger and your pinky finger. And then we're going to go to the A string and we're going to go 1 and 7, index finger and ring finger. Now we're going to go down to the D, 1, 7, index and the ring. Again to the G, we're going to go 1, 7, index and the ring finger. And then we're going to go to the B string and we're going to go 1, 8. And then again on the E and we're going to go 1, 8. So anytime you're doing the 1-8, you want to go index and pinky. Anytime you're doing 1-7, you want to go index and ring. So that's the first position of the pentatonic scale. And I will have a tab on the screen so you guys can look at it. The second position, we're going to start on the 8th fret. And you'll notice that as we do these positions, that you're going to hit that same note. It's going to start on the note that this other one ended on. So that last position ended on the 8th fret on that low E. It's going to start there. So on this next string, it's going to start on the 7th, 7, 7, 8, 8. So the second position, we're going to go 8-10 on the low E. And it's going to be middle pinky. We're going to go 7-10 on the A. And it's going to be index and pinky. And then we're going to go 7-10 on the D string, index, pinky again, and we're going to go 7-9 on that G string, and it's going to be the index and the ring finger, and then we're going to go 8-10 and 8-10. So Alright, so as far as practice goes, you're going to practice this to a metronome, which we just discussed, the metronome. So I'm going to turn my metronome on to 100 beats per minute. You guys start with what you want. And again, we're just going to hit one note per click. So a couple things to point out here is that when I do this, I'm going down and then I'm going back up. And when I go back up, I'm not going to hit this last note a second time. I'm just going to go and then right back to that 5th fret. And the other thing I'm going to point out is when I'm picking this scale, I'm not just down picking. I'm alternate picking, so I'm going down, up, 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 down. And you're going to do that same exact thing with the second position. Start with the first one, get that one down to where you're fluent with it, and you can go down, up, not that fast, but it doesn't have to be at a fast pace, just whatever pace you can do it at. I mean, something probably like about that fast, and you want to be able to do it maybe, at least 4 or 5 times down and up before you move on to that next position. So this is the first thing that you're going to do when you pick up your guitar. So this next exercise is, I don't really have a name for it, so I'm just going to call it the individual string or the individual finger movement exercise. And this exercise is designed to train your fingers to move individually. So the idea is that if I move this index finger here, I don't want this middle finger to move along with it. I want to move them individually, which is hard at first. It takes a little bit of training, so that's why we're going to work on this. So what you're going to do is you're going to start, it doesn't really matter what fret you're on, we'll just start on the 3rd fret, and you're going to just move each finger individually down. You're going to go from the low E all the way down to the high E and back up. So let's do that. My ring finger came off one of those a little bit, but that's the idea. You want to train your fingers so that when you pick one up, another one doesn't come up along with it. This next exercise is a strengthening exercise. I call it the legato exercise. So we're not going to use this hand at all. We're only going to use this hand. So I'll show you how it's done. So the idea is that we'll start on this index finger. Keep this index finger. Again, it doesn't matter what fret you start on. We'll start on the 3rd fret. And then you're just going to hammer on pull off is a term that we use. You're going to start with the middle finger, and you're going to do the ring finger, and you're going to do the pinky. So now that we use that index finger, we're going to go to the middle finger, and the middle finger is not going to move. That's going to stay on that fret. And then you're just going to go ring finger, pinky, and then we're going to go to the ring finger, and we're just going to hammer on, pull off that pinky. So the next exercise that we're going to do today, or for this practice routine, is what I call the drop D. I just call it a drop D exercise. So we're going to have to go back to drop D. So whichever way you want to do it, you know, if it's... I was on the wrong fret there. So you want to use your metronome again for this exercise. All you're going to do here is you're going to down pick 4 times on the low E, which is, right now, it's a low D. So you're going to down pick for a measure. You're going to down pick 4 and then take a break. Down pick 4, take a rest. So every 4 beats is considered a measure. You're going to down pick 1 full measure and then rest 1 full measure. Down pick 1 full measure and rest 1 full measure. And again, you guys can adjust this metronome speed to what works for you. It can be as slow as you need it to be. So I am resting my palm right at the edge of the bridge here, and that's what we call a palm mute. So if that's comfortable and you can do that, and it sounds okay, and it doesn't sound like, you know, if that's comfortable for you, go ahead and do that, because that's a pretty common technique that's used in metal guitar all the time, is the palm mute. But if it's not comfortable for you, you want to keep your hand off, that's okay. Eventually you will want to learn the palm mute, but we don't need to worry about that today. So I'm going to teach you guys a cover song today by a band called Blink-182. The song is called Damn It. The reason why I'm teaching you this song is because it is a very simple song to learn. The first riff is a single note, real easy riff, and then the second one's like a little power chord riff. So it's perfect for what we had covered in this practice routine. I'm just going to teach you guys the first 2 riffs. I'm learning this off of a program called Ultimate Guitar Tab. I have the phone app version and I have the desktop. The phone app, when I bought it years ago, was I think like $3 or $4. It's probably a little bit more now, but it's very convenient because you can slow the song down, you can speed it up, you can loop small sections, and there's a lot more that you can do with this app. There's other apps out there. Songster's another good one. That one I think is $10 a month for the phone app. Anyways, it also has a metronome on it. So it's very convenient to learn songs. You're definitely going to want to focus on learning cover songs as you grow as a guitarist. So getting an app or a program like this is very necessary. I'm going to teach you guys this song, or these two riffs, at 70% speed for a couple reasons. First of all, so that you guys can see a little bit more of what I'm doing, and then maybe I'll slow it down as well as I teach it. Second off is because I haven't played this song since I was like 14 years old, and I'm trying to learn it on the spot right now. So that first riff is very simple. It's 3rd fret A string 2 times, open string on the D, the 3rd D string 2 times, and then 2nd fret on that D string once. So it goes. And that's the rhythm for every single little piece of this riff. So it goes. It's that same rhythm the entire time. So the second part goes very similar to the first one, except for the only difference is that instead of on this A string on the 3rd fret, you're going to be on the E string. So that's the second part. And then the third part is just like that other part, except for being on the 3rd fret of any of the string. You're just doing the open A string 2 times. And then the last section of that is you're going to be on the low E on the 1st fret. But that does change up a little bit there at the tail end. So this last one is 1st fret E string twice, and then 2nd fret on the D string, the 3rd string down twice, and then that open D string. That's the whole riff. I think they do it 4 times before they get into the second riff. Another thing to note here is that when he wrote this, he did it all down picks, I'm pretty sure. So this is the power chord riff. The tab that I'm looking at, it shows that they do the power chord and then just that one note a few times. I want you guys to practice power chords, so we're just gonna do all power chords. So the way this riff is he does one like unpalm muted strum, and the rest are palm muted with, like we kind of talked about before, resting your palm right on the string. So you guys can try that. If it's too difficult, don't worry about it. Just do them all open. Don't worry about palm muting at all. Remember, the power chord's just the 2 notes. The tab that I'm looking at, they have you play all 3, but we're just gonna play 2. You're gonna start that power chord on the 3rd fret A string. That's gonna be the first one. And then you're gonna jump up, same fret, just jump up to that low E. And then you're gonna stay on that low E, but you're gonna slide down the fretboard 2 frets to that 5th fret. And then you're gonna stay on that low E string again, slide all the way to the 1st fret. So. Real simple riff, guys, but it's a real good one for beginners to learn. I think this was one of the first songs that I learned when I was a kid, along with, like, I think a Green Day song and maybe a couple other ones. So this routine you should practice 2.5 to 3 hours per week. That could be 3 times, that could be 4 times, that could be 5 times. The way I have structured it, ideally this routine is set up to either do 3 days a week or 5 days a week. So if you're doing all the minimums, for instance, like the 5 minutes and a 5 to 10 minute exercise, then that should take you about 30 minutes to finish that routine. If you're doing the maximum time, like the 10 minutes, then that should take you about an hour to finish. I recommend that you sit down, look at your schedule, and schedule out the times that you're going to sit down and practice. Whether that's 3 days, that's 5 days, it doesn't really matter. The more often you practice, the less likely that you're gonna have to spend as much time when you come back to it to try to remind yourself on what you were doing. But if you structure it to where you're practicing 3 days a week and you do it like every other day versus like 3 days straight and then 4 days off, that's gonna be a lot better as well. And the 2.5 to 3 hours, that's a minimum. If you have more time, spend a little bit more time. You don't have to do the exercises the exact amount of time that I say. If I say 5 to 10 minutes and you want to do 12, that's fine. If you want to do 7, that's fine. But you don't want to do it too much to where you get burnout and you don't want to do it anymore. That's going to be a mistake. So if you're not accustomed to sitting down and practicing guitar on a regular basis, I would say stick to the minimum at first. 2.5 hours, 30 minutes, 5 days a week, or whatever that means to you. As far as sitting down and looking at your schedule and planning time that you're going to actually sit down and practice, there's a couple ways you can do this. I would recommend, if you have a very set schedule, sit down and just say, these are the days and these are the times I'm gonna do it. If you don't always have a set schedule, then maybe it's once a week you sit down on Sunday or Monday or whatever day makes sense to you and you schedule out your day. But I think it's very important that you set aside time and you don't just practice when the time comes, because a lot of the times when you do that, the time never comes. And that is the most important part, is that you actually sit down on a consistent basis and practice this routine. And that's the only way that you're gonna get to the level that you wanna be. This routine should be relevant to you for, depending on how much you practice and how quickly you learn, anywhere from 6 weeks to a few months. But if you get to the point to where these exercises are becoming easy for you and it's getting a little bit boring, then it's time to take the next step and add some more different exercises, some more complicated stuff into your practice routine.